one. What's going on, everyone? This is the On the Block podcast. So, of course, we have myself. I'm Brandon Graham. We're here with Robert Sony, Igor Henriquez, and Joey Ferfari of On the Block, of course. And this is our recap show, going over everything that was in week 3. And hopefully we're able to break down and give our takes for each and every one. Well, the majority of the games, kind of those hot games that we definitely had. But, we're going to start with the game that happened in Baltimore. I'm going to start the game that happened in Baltimore against the Lions. What do you guys think of this game, right? This is something, I think it was a tricky kind of line for this game as well, too. I'm not too sure how many people hate on it, but exactly what was your take for that particular game right there? I'll start with you, Joy.
Man, I was upset. I was talking with Igor. I was most upset because, a third of my survivor pool had Baltimore. And shout out to Baltimore and the kicker for legging out that 66-yard field goal to win it. But, they did not deserve to win the game. And I guess what we've noticed is Detroit's going to linger in at least their home games. We know they're not going to win too many games, but they're gonna fight every week with their lunatic of a coach, and they're gonna give their best effort every night. So shout out to them. And Lamar Jackson, he made magic at the end of that game even to set up that kick. So new era is still taking the W. So shout out to him.
Oh, you, Robert.
Yeah, I think we talked about it in the picks pod where it was like that in the Arizona game looked like two games where it was just going to be a forget the spread, let's just get in and get the win. And it looked like Baltimore just let Detroit hang around. And then, Dan, is it Dan Campbell? Is that
Dan Campbell? Yeah.
Like they're not going to be an X's and O's team, but they are going to be like a rah team for sure. Like he's got some like a John Gruden. He's the new Johnny. He's the big Jack John Gruden. And he's a guy where I don't know if I played for him, I'd be like, I don't want to mess around. I don't want to let this guy down because he might like have me do like the Oklahoma drill and have he'd be on the other side. So it ended up being a great game. Obviously, like Justin Tucker, unbelievable. And it's disappointing because it just like it would have knocked out, I think, a quarter of my survivor pool. But yeah, it was just it was a very predictable in my eyes, and I wish I had the stones to take Detroit because I think a lot of us said that Detroit plus the points was a good bet. So
yeah, for sure. Oh, Igor.
Taking a look at the situation, I don't think Baltimore probably deserved to win the game. There was a little bit of a discrepancy because I was watching the game and it looked like on the last play it should have been called a delay game to move them back 5 yards. It wasn't called. I don't know if that was because the TV wasn't in line with what was going on in the stadium, but it wasn't called. And then in typical Detroit fashion, it hits a 66-yarder. That would have brought it back maybe to a 71-yarder. Maybe Lamar Jackson would have had to, have a completion instead of just throwing that ball away instead. So typical Detroit loss. That's just a franchise since Barry Sanders left. What can happen will happen. And that's the situation there. So a lucky win for Baltimore. It was definitely one of those they were on a high from the Kansas City game, and they definitely looked past Detroit, and they got out of there with a W, but one that they probably didn't deserve.
Hey, what can go wrong will go wrong in Detroit. I usually say that about the Cowboys, but I'm going to credit that to Detroit as well too. But to be honest, 2 times that team has had the longest kick against them to win a game 2 times. One was back in like 1960s or something like that, and then again, and the score in that game, guess not. Guess not.
The same score?
Guess or not? Same score, 1917. So the Detroit area in general are definitely cursed right there. But one thing I will say is that Dan Campbell has these guys actually playing with like a lot of toughness. They're fighting. They in every one of those games they've had in every week. I know that once again you got the Niners, you got the Packers, and you have the Baltimore Ravens. That's a tough first 3 games, but they won a quarter or a half in each and every one of those games. So they have some fight in them, right? They're not really a great team, but they're going to fight. And, they're going to win probably 3 games. So that's definitely credit to Dan Campbell and what we have over there. I'm going to go a little bit of misery right now. So misery in New England, all right? We have a big game coming up this week. Igor going with New Orleans Saints, go in there, beat them up 23-13. A lot, definitely more of a beating in that game than actually the score actually indicates. But, I want to get your take on this. You can, how disappointing was it for you watching that game at Mac Jones?
Well, you go in there with a rookie quarterback. You're going to expect some mulligans in a lot of the games. And That was definitely one of the bad performances for Mac Jones. He didn't, on that pick six, for example, Jonnu Smith has to catch that ball. It wasn't, it was a good performance, a really good performance by the Saints defense. And Jameis Winston did enough. He fluked out a couple of TDs. I know I saw one where he just threw it up in the air.
Yeah.
He lucked out getting.
Oh yeah, that one that he just threw up like that. Yeah,
He trades for that, eh?
That's usually about a 90% interception. But it is what it is. The Saints went in there, got a tough win, and there's going to be growing pains for the Patriots, and it's probably going to happen again on Sunday Night Football. And I'll be watching that very intently. But the Pats are going to be one of those 500 teams. Maybe you get to 9 wins, at best 10. But like I said, with the rookie quarterbacks, and you saw it with all of them actually, there's going to be growing pains, and that was one of them.
You, Robert? Sorry.
Yeah, I really like New Orleans. I took them, I believe it's one of my picks. I took them in my big pool for sure. And it was just very, like, it was very predictable to me. But yeah, Mac Jones is a little limited, right? Like I don't think New England's. I think New England's okay because they had Tom Brady, who was basically a similar style quarterback. It was just more of like it was a bad spot for him. It was a bad spot for the team. They'd come off a big win. I think they'd blown out the Jets the week before. It's going to happen. It's a rookie QB. I think Mac Jones was limited to begin with, and against a pretty good defense in New Orleans that had gotten embarrassed the week before. It was just a predictable spot for me, and I just want to see more from New England now. I'm just intrigued to see, where I don't know where they fall on my power rankings in terms of maybe they're the middle of the pack, maybe they're below, maybe they are a lower end team, but I don't know yet. I need to see more to know.
Take it away, Joy.
Yeah, I was going to say it's tough with the Pats. They're going to get some love, like Rob talked about last week with the Cowboys, with the Lion. Coming off a really bad loss in Carolina, this was a bounce back for them. I know that we've talked about Jameis, and he's going to have a good game, have a bad game. I love New England in this spot. It was one of my picks last week. With Mac Jones, I think that they're kind of overhyping him a little bit too early. Me and Brand talked about this before. He was not a lock for the first round. Coach Belichick there, I think, is trying to stay with the run game, keep some short passes there with the tight ends. And New England's a work in progress, though. I think that I really do believe in their defense. I think the defense there is going to keep them in a lot of games. But I want to pump the brakes a little bit with this team, because I think that I was talking with Rob, and I think you guys in the group chat, after 1 month, I think we can kind of figure out teams and see what they're good at, what they're not good at. Right now, like I said last pod, I was talking about, like, if you can kind of figure out a team, let's say that you're sold on the Raiders and you think the Raiders are actually a good team and you want to bet them going forward. This is a time where you make your money before really everybody else kind of adjusts to the team that they are. And I think that New Orleans is a team that I talked about before, and I said that, guys, let's not forget, I know there's a new quarterback. He can throw the ball, and their defense, to me, is still a borderline top 5 defense in my mind. And I think that people kind of forgot about that. They say that, this is a team playing on the road. They are. But, they're still staying in first-class hotels, eating well, and they got embarrassed last week. So with New Orleans, it's a team that I kind of banked on. I said they're a dark horse to win that division. And with the Bucs coming off a loss, probably not going to lose, anytime soon. But if, the Saints can keep winning, I think that division will go down to the wire.
Yeah, Saints are going back home for the first time this season, right? They're dealing with Hurricane Ida, now they're going back. So that's going to be good for them to actually get back. I don't know if I'm wrong to say this, but I think that it was kind of a little bit too premature to let go of Cam Newton. I'm sorry. I just think it was a little bit too premature. I honestly, judging from this week, judging from last week, having a rookie quarterback just thrown into the fire ends up in 2 different ways, right? Of course, they can glide in to be a game manager. All right, they can be. When have we seen a rookie quarterback come in and actually light it up? It hardly happens, right? Or it can just go terribly wrong.
That's it.
Justin Herbert, yeah, but
That's
Justin Herbert, yeah, I guess so. But he was still losing games. He was still getting killed. Right, yeah. Who else?
Yeah, I was just saying he has a lot of weapons too, right?
Exactly, he has a lot of weapons, exactly. And they ran a pretty good job. So it only goes 1 or 2 ways. It goes terribly wrong, as you see in New York with the New York Jets. You see kind of with Trevor Lawrence as well too. He's playing a little bit better. But it's only 1 or 2 ways, and Mac Jones can't get out of the pocket. He's not mobile. It's going to be a work in progress there. All right, I'm going to go to my Cincinnati Bengals. I'm sorry, I have to do this. They lost in the Heinz Field. All right, win 24. All right, oh my goodness. Sorry, yeah, but 24-10. I knew I had it right. Listen, every time that I dealt this team, every time I delve this team, they show up for some reason. But it's at the same time they're playing against Ben Roethlisberger, who cannot literally we can walk faster than Ben Roethlisberger. He literally is as mobile as a tree at this point. It's really bad. I'm still a really big Ben guy. I think he has done so much for the game and has a great career. But it's just getting to the point now. It's like, what are we doing? What are we really doing?
It's embarrassing.
In Pittsburgh altogether, right? But anyways, I want to know your takes about this game. Ja'Marr Chase having a really good game as well too. Joe Burrow throwing the ball after leading the game off with a pick. What are your takes on it? Joey, you can go ahead.
Listen, they have wide receivers, right? Like they have 3 really good wideouts that they're using. And with Mixon still there, their running back, like they're pretty, offensively, they have the firepower to compete with anybody. Their defense and their O-line have been the question marks. My question, I guess, for everybody, and I guess maybe I'll answer this, is are the Steelers done? Because, since they started off 11-0 last year, I saw a stat on Instagram. I feel like they were like 2-7 since. I'm just kind of ballparking, but like that's their record. I think their wins are against maybe Cincinnati and some other terrible team. Their defense still obviously really solid. TJ missed the game, but if you're, going, 3 and out a lot of the times, they have skill there. Just the quarterback position is rough for the Steelers. I think they're done. But getting back to Cincy, I have faith in this team. In that division, Cleveland, they got to win, but I don't want to say that they're a perfect team. Their roster looks good, but I still think that there's some, room for them to move up. Cincinnati, I think looking into the future, if you're a Bengals fan, you have a lot to look forward to, right? You have a really good wideout that you took in the first round. You have, your quarterback looks pretty solid. I think that if they kind of continue to build around that O-line, they're really good. And typically their defense, I remember from back in the day, used to be good as well. So if they can build the defense, build their offensive line, I think this is a team with the Steelers trending downward. This is a team that is trending in the right direction.
Igor, what about you?
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say that, we tried to help Brandon and tell him that not to go against his Bengals, but he didn't listen to us in the picks. I'm going to start with that one. But like I said, the Cincinnati defense was for real. You had, no Deontay Johnson for the Steelers. Ben, to me, I know Brandon said he's a big Ben guy. Ben looks done to me. Like he didn't have much mobility in the first place, but he looks even like he lost even another step or two. And that he can't do what he did before, which was, keep the plays alive and so forth. And he was getting buried a lot. I did like to, on a Steelers perspective, they were missing TJ Watt, so that's a big loss on defense. I really like Najee Harris. From what I saw of the game, he's going to be a really, really good running back. And I think a lot of the offense is gonna run through him sooner rather than later. But he has this Derrick Henry type feel a little bit. He's gonna be a problem sooner rather than later. But so they have something to look forward to. But I don't know if they're done in terms of like being if they're gonna be really, really bad. But I do think that playoff streak might come to an end this year. That Bills win looks great now, but they're in a tough division, and I think it's gonna be one of those situations where it's gonna be tough to get into the playoffs.
Rob,
or even get over 500.
Yeah, it's amazing that Big Ben doesn't look that good since he's in the best shape of his life that everybody keeps telling me.
Right.
And like that, I saw the stat. I saw the meme of him falling over just by himself. That was
how bad was that?
That was bad. That was bad. But yeah, the Steelers. To answer your question, Joe, they're done. It's the window's closed. And I 11-0 last year. I was like, dude, I didn't see it. And they're just showing that their O-line's not good enough. Their quarterback is old. Like 38, we got to stop looking at Tom Brady and be like, that's the norm. Tom Brady's the exception. You get to this age, and it's very tough, especially for a guy like Ben who's had a tough career in terms of the guy gets beat up. I know he's big, he's strong, but he takes a legit beating. I'm going to talk about the Bengals later, shockingly, so I'm not going to talk too much about them. But yeah, it was. I'm with Igor. We told you, Brandon, Cincy. This was the spot for Cincy, but impressive win.
The Steelers have Rodgers and the Green Bay next week, so it's not getting any easier.
No.
I think the stat is they're 2-7 in their last 9 games, and that's not a playoff team. Like 2-7 over any 9-game stretch is not good enough. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah, never gonna doubt the Bengals again unless they're playing a really good defense. But that was definitely a miscue by me. I should have. Why did I take the Steelers?
Remember
to Joey's team.
Remember that in a couple of weeks.
I know, right? Joey, we're gonna go to your Titans, right? Ryan Tannehill throws 3 touchdowns, right, against a defense that in some respect are really struggling on the secondary for right now. but winning 25-16 against the Colts in that division. What was your takeaway for that game? Troy?
Tannehill looked decent, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, though. The story, as usual, as Rob liked to say, that one, immaculate comment that he had. This is Derrick Henry's team, right? Derrick Henry, again, 113 yards. Without him, I don't know where they are. A.J. Brown went down with a hamstring injury. Looks like he's going to miss some time. It's great that we have Julio Jones, but, after those 2 guys, the depth of wide receiver is not incredible. But, I didn't take them. I pulled a Brandon. I went against my own team and it burned me, and I'm happy for it. Right? So
me too, man. I'm happy.
I'm not going to complain. A rare win over the Colts at home. But, they look pretty decent, right? Like, I was worried after week 1. I really was. And I'm never, like I said before, like, I'm not one of those guys that has a bias towards my team. I'm really realistic with them, even though they've gone far. I think they went to the AFC Championship, I want to say, against the Chiefs with it would have been right before Patty Mahomes took over, right? So this team has potential to do something. They need everything to fall right for them. Colts right now sitting at 0-3. I didn't expect that. Their defense is still pretty legit. But, with Wentz at quarterback, it's going to be tough to win games. So the Titans going forward, I like them. I like them in this division, as Rob pointed out. You have a pulse, you might win it. Jacksonville looks terrible. Houston's obviously a mess in their own division. But I like the Titans going forward, but they need to get healthy and, have some kind of defense going into the playoffs for them to have any shot to win anything.
I honestly think Derrick Henry is peaking too early. It's really bad. He's on my fantasy team, but I think he's peaking a little bit too early. Rob,
so there's some stat that I read, really quick. In the fourth quarter, I think it's like the last 3 or 4 years, like nobody's even close to him in terms of fourth quarter rushing. This guy gets better as the game goes on. And I think that defenses, they don't want to tackle him. The guy's like a linebacker. And Igor, to touch on you with Najee Harris, like I think that he's the reincarnation. Same school, went to Alabama, and another big back coming in. Both those guys are incredible. Obviously, Henry's my guy, but I have a lot of faith in these guys going forward, at least the regular season.
I'm not the biggest fan of them, Joe. Sorry, I have to say. Sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
I'm still not a big fan of Tennessee. Sorry, bud. Yeah, man. I think it's something like it's just you wear teams down like big guys. If you ever watch like tape of Jim Brown, everybody talks about how great Jim Brown was. Go watch how big he was. And even if you look at like some OJ tape, I know we're not supposed to, you can't really say his name anymore, but if you go watch tape, like these guys are monsters, and it's hard to bring these guys down. It was a huge win for Tennessee. The 2 biggest games for Tennessee are going to be against Indy, and they got one win, because the winner of those 2 games are going to basically determine who wins this division. So the division is awful, and it doesn't matter because, Tennessee's probably going to win it now. And it's probably, in my opinion, it's worse than the NFC East if I had to power rank.
I said that last week. I'm pretty sure.
It's easily.
You guys disagreed.
I don't know, guys. I don't want to defend my division.
Some of
the Giants are bad. Washington's not looking any better. Philly's terrible.
If you were to say, give me 2 of the worst teams in the league, it's inarguable that Houston and Jacksonville are 1-2 for me.
I agree with that.
New York Jets.
Maybe mix in the Jets, but it's just like they're so bad, those teams. And so, Tennessee's going to win this division probably, since Indy's off to this bad start and Carson Wentz is as mentally weak as they come. So big win for Tennessee. Outside of that, I don't have much.
Move. Yeah.
I still hate them.
Go ahead, Igor.
Again, that's a big win in the division. A little concerning that A.J. Brown went down pretty early. You got to watch with that hamstring injury to see what that'll be something to watch. I think they are the best team in the division. And a storyline to watch that I'll be watching later on into the year is that whole draft pick situation with Wentz. So if he plays 75% of the snaps, they lose the first round draft pick to Philly. I wouldn't be surprised if they're out of it, like they're in and they might just bench him for a couple games at the end of it just to avoid.
Who's the backup again?
Jacob Eason.
Jacob Eason. So I know Philly fans. I got a bunch of Philly fans like letting me know, hey, give me percentages every week on how much snaps he played and stuff like that. So they're banking on that first round pick. But again, if they're out of it, I wouldn't be surprised with a phantom injury or something that he gets benched for the last 2 games.
He doesn't need a phantom injury. He's injured every week. He shouldn't have played last week, right, with his ankles.
I'm doubting that he gets to play 75 because he's got busted ankles. He's bound to get hurt at some point pretty bad. But the issue with Tennessee is obviously was the secondary and so forth. And if they can get that corrected, they have enough firepower. I think Julio's getting a little more comfortable. And again, just gotta hope that AJ Brown's injury isn't too bad, but definitely some signs of improvement over the last few weeks for sure.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill is definitely playing a lot better. But
Yeah.
back to Carson Wentz, he actually was vying to play. He wanted to play, but once again, I think, the staff there, like, no, you're gonna hold out. We don't want, Philly to get that first round pick
Just
off.
really quickly, Brandon, before you get to the next team, like as the Colts GM, what's going in your mind when you're giving up a first round pick for Carson Wentz, who last year looked like he didn't belong in the league? Am I the only guy? Like, did anybody else see any logic in that trade?
They just once again, they just
And
need
that
the
salary
quarterback.
too?
So yeah, the salary is ridiculous. They're paying him a lot. Jim Irsay's paying him a lot of money, right? But it's just he's serviceable, right? You have some young receivers on that team that you think can gel with him, but I didn't expect him to look this bad. He didn't look terrible against the Rams, but no, he did actually in the second half. But you didn't expect him to look. He didn't look terrible.
I did.
Right?
Like I saw a few Philly games last week. I saw a few Philly games last year, and I was like, this guy doesn't look like an NFL quarterback anymore.
I think the Indy line of thinking is that he had his best productive years under Frank Reich when Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator in Philly. So they're thinking, they talked to Frank saying, hey, he's got something. And they figure, you put him in Frank Reich's offense again and he'll flourish. But I don't think he's the same guy that he was a couple of years ago. He doesn't look anything like it. So
I think it's pretty simple. I talk with my buddy a lot about my buddy Dan about quarterbacks, and to me, it's wishful thinking if you think that your coordinator from the glory days is going to come back and break it. He's never been the same since he tore his ACL. There was that one year that he was second, I believe, in MVP, and to be honest, I think he should have won it that year.
That's when he tore his ACL.
Yeah, and since then, like
against the Rams too,
with modern science, like you come back from ACL injury like nothing. He didn't. And that's all I got to say. Let's move on.
Well, they got to get Andrew Luck out of retirement. They got to get Andrew Luck back.
I don't think it's more so him not being mobile. I think it's more so him and his thought process and like his processing of the game. It's just changed since that year where he just went off with Ertz and all these guys and whatnot. But we're going to go from there to Arrowhead. Probably the surprise of the week. Some may say it's not the surprise of the week.
Don't talk to Igor.
Yeah. is that your bet? Well,
that was
of course, we have the
Supercharger.
The Superchargers going to Arrowhead and beating the Kansas City Chiefs 30-24. This is the game I think everyone believed that the Kansas City Chiefs would actually come back and win in the last quarter. But Justin Herbert, right? Him playing really well, getting the ball to Keenan Allen, just defense not really playing the best on Kansas City. Kind of worried about Kansas City's defense a bit right now. But anyways, I'm going to pass it to Rob. Rob, if you're ready to go, you can give us your take on that game, the Chargers against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I had KC as the number 2 power ranked team. I'm a little worried about the Chiefs, man. And I think one thing that nobody's talked about, I haven't heard anybody bring this up. Patrick Mahomes got paid. Like this year, he finally got his contract kicked in, so he's making $45 million, and instead of making what, 6 or 7, and that's like $40 million of cap space means there's so much pressure on Brett Veach there, the GM, to bring in really good, cheap, affordable guys, because $40 million is like 3 or 4 really good players. So they're going to be a lot more thin. And I think the stat is only one quarterback in the last 10 years has ever won the Super Bowl with having, I think he had 12%. I think it was Brady had 12% of the salary cap. Like Mahomes has like 25%. So I had KC as a lock. I'm not sure anymore. Like I hate betting against Mahomes, but that line was off. I said it should have been like 3.5, and it's like the Chiefs. I'd be worried if I was a Chiefs fan right now. That they finally, that's a lot of salary cap that's getting eaten up by Patty, even though he deserves it.
That happened, and that's fine, right? They've had their years, right? You had been in the top. You've pretty much been touted as the New England Patriots, right? Mm-hmm. But what doesn't matter? Bengals have a better record than you right now. It doesn't matter. Eat your words. All right, going on to Joey. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's really. I had a question I was going to ask earlier. It was just going to be like, is Kansas City in trouble? And I think the answer is yes. When I made my Super Bowl pick at the beginning of the year, I said I can't bet against Mahomes because at the end of every game, as we saw with Rodgers on Sunday night, he's going to charge down the field if it's within a score, and he's going to make something happen. He always does. The defense, to me, I don't know if it's as worrisome because they've had defense problems since he's been there. So that's nothing new. Rob brings up a good point about the salary there. I'm looking at guys like when Rodgers got paid, when Russ Wilson got paid. I always, and I say this about every sport, even in basketball mostly, and then football. When you have that much of a cap and you need guys around you to do something, you need to draft like impeccably. And if you're not, especially at those skill positions, offensive line, if you mess up on those picks, man, like you are done. Because when you bring in the rookie quarterback and you have Mahomes making, like you said, 8-10 million, whatever it is, you can pay other guys. You don't have that luxury now. Granted, they've won a Super Bowl, they've been in another, but your margin for error is so slim when you have that amount of salary cap to deal with that it's going to be a real issue for them. Now, they've played some tough teams. Chargers and Justin Herbert are for real. Rob knows that. We all know that. But like I said, they have to start winning games because the panic button is going to be hit really soon because at some point you need to win some games.
Absolutely.
I thought there was before you go, sorry. I thought something interesting happened this weekend. They signed Josh Gordon. And it kind of reminded me of when the Golden State Warriors signed Boogie Cousins and everybody freaked out. They're like, they're going to wreck the league. And all the smart people were like, that's desperation. This Josh Gordon thing is like desperation. Like, we need more help on offense. And for me, like, it reeks of like the Chiefs are worried, and we don't even know about Andy's health. Hopefully Andy's okay. Andy seems like an absolute beauty. Hopefully he was fine. I didn't hear any reports after about what was wrong with him. I think dehydration, but I think it says more anything that the Chiefs are desperate right now, and I think they know they're a little bit thinner than they want to be.
Igor, go ahead.
Where do you get started on this? So,
you should have picked them, man. That was
we're not talking about Rodgers.
The Survivor picks done. I thought, Denver. Everyone's on Denver. Don't go with Denver. And then I outthought my process. But so I'm watching this game, and man, they blew the game in so many ways. It wasn't even funny. Turnover after turnover, interceptions, fumbles in the first half where they were in the red zone a bunch of times and blew it there. The Chargers coach at the end of the game gives them a glorious opportunity. All he had to do was literally kick a field goal with no time left at like the 3-yard line. He decides to score and give Mahomes like a minute and change. I'm thinking, man, this guy's an idiot. He's giving the time on the board, and they still can't do anything. And that was the gutting thing. And I didn't think they were going to be able to win the game, even though it was a bonehead move in the first place. But man, they from the fumble situations to the interceptions, it was like, I think it was a 4 or 5 interception. And again, you're not going to win games in this league giving the ball away 4 or 5 different times. So is there a lot to be concerned about? I don't think so. It's a little bit of a concern that they're last in the division. I think that whole, I don't think the playoffs is going to go through Arrowhead this year because, again, you only get the 1 bye, and they're already on 2 losses. So I don't think they're going to, win the next 14, 15 in a row or whatever it ends up being. I think that's pretty much done for them. But, yeah, I'm hella pissed that they cost me this Survivor. But I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. Of course, once again, Tyreek Hill is being double teamed all the time. So who's that second guy? Especially when – of course, you have Mecole Hardman. Okay, go ahead. You go.
Sorry. For the Josh Gordon thing, I just want to with Rob's. Josh Gordon's been done for years. He was like in Seattle. You didn't even notice him.
Patriots, Seattle.
You shouldn't be celebrating that. He's not what he was 3-4 years ago. I saw him a lot in New England. He just doesn't have it anymore. What he used to have. So I don't know what they're already stacked. A lot of the wide receiver positions with Hardman and other guys. I don't. Hill. That's not going to do much of a difference. So
yeah, I don't know why teams are still like picking this guy up. I have no idea why. Like, he had his years, but when Seattle got him, like, okay, that could probably fit because they do a lot of intermediate, just deep routes, and you can probably get blow the top off. But he didn't show any of that. He didn't show any promise at all. So it's really weird kind of reach altogether. But once again, hope that Andy Reid's good. Hope they recover. Who knows? They might not run the table, but have a string of games that they were going to win. But, of course, it's too unfortunate that Igor already picked them already. Okay, going. I didn't want to talk about this game at all. I really didn't want to talk about this game. But as an Ohio State guy, I have to talk about Urban Meyer and his Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Arizona Cardinals, losing 31-19. But they're in this game. The majority of the game, they're in the game. If you guys actually pay attention.
They were up at half.
Up at half as well, too. Exactly. Up at half. And, of course, if it wasn't for missed field goals, if it wasn't for a number of miscues, it wasn't for a bonehead play call for a flea flicker in the third quarter. You didn't need that. They probably would have won this game. So once again, just looking back at that, your assessment of Trevor Lawrence game, and of course the play calling of Urban Meyer and decision making. We'll go to Igor first.
So I'm watching the points of that game. First and foremost, I gotta say that 109 yard return off the Matt Prater miss, that was unbelievable. Right at the end of the half, that was absolutely fantastic. That was probably the highlight of Jacksonville's season, and I don't know if they're gonna have a better one than that one because that was remarkable. Again, some growing pains for Trevor Lawrence, a bad pick six. Again, I'm not very convinced that Urban Meyer is going to be an NFL coach beyond, maybe he gets another year, but he just seems like a guy that's more suited to be a college football coach. And he, again, like I said last week on the pod, he looks like he's above his,
punching weight,
out of his depth. He's punching above his weight. And it's not looking good. And again, Trevor Lawrence, I don't know. I'm guessing none of you have the Zach Wilson concerns, but it hasn't been great. Definitely hasn't been great. He's got he's got some wide receivers. He's got some help, but he's definitely finding out that the NFL is not college football. I'll tell you that much. But good on the Cardinals. Cardinals-Rams this week is going to be a really good game. But yeah, it's going to be a big time problem for the Jags, and they got Brandon's Bengals coming up on Thursday Night Football, so
yeah,
plug in there. So, but yeah, Jacksonville's in a whole heap of trouble.
Joey, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted Rob to go first, but I'll go. I was going to say, because Rob was talking a little before just about Trevor Lawrence, and are we sure that he's good? Now I know that it was widely regarded, unanimously, that he was the best college quarterback prospect since Peyton Manning, and the only other one in between that really was Andrew Luck, right? That you were actually sure on. Now I know that when Manning started out, his interception numbers were terrible. So I don't want to Trevor Lawrence in terms of the measurables, throwing the ball, that's all there. His arm strength, everything, the accuracy is all there. His questioning, definitely questionable decisions. And we know the O-line's not great. He doesn't have the best weapons. Obviously Jones and DJ Shark had a great year last year. Chanot Jr. He has decent enough weapons. It's just they're always playing from behind, obviously. So they can't really get the running game going, which I think is not helping. Their O-line sucks. Their defense is not great. They traded, I believe it was CJ Henderson, their cornerback. I don't know if you guys saw that. I was talking with my buddy Fama, who's the only Jags fan I know. And I was because I was talking with him about their draft issues over the years. In the first round, they've just been one of the worst drafting teams ever, which is why they've been at the bottom. And apparently what happened is he's sleeping in on meetings. Urban Meyer apparently had to drive to his house and ask him to come to a meeting. It's a joke. And I don't see this in any other sport. I talk with him about this too, other than the NFL, with the amount of DUIs, domestic disputes, guys not waking up for meetings. I don't see that in any other sport. And the Jags obviously need to do a better job of doing their pre-draft, maybe interviewing of these guys, because when you're missing on first-round pick after first-round pick, to trade them away for a tight end and a third or a fourth, this sets you back and back and back, and they're missing on everything. Like I said, the defense sucks. The flea flicker, Urban Meyer, what are you thinking? I don't know what he's doing. It's almost like it's insulting to the franchise.
Yeah, it is.
Rob, take it away.
Rob, go ahead.
You guys nailed most of it. They've got to move. Jacksonville's got to move, man. That team is dying there. And I said, honestly, not to be a homer, they should come to Toronto. They got to come to Toronto. The Toronto Jaguars. Let's make it a thing.
Oh God,
it's just.
That reminds me, Igor, I send this all the time, Brad, you've seen it too, the Supreme Dreams, those guys, they put out the thing when, remember Doc Rivers, he snapped, he's like, we need to go to Maine or something, Austin.
Yeah, they got to wrap it up.
Am I?
Oh, man.
I just think of Jalen Ramsey, and you were talking about first-round picks, the best first-round pick they've had in 20 years, and he just doesn't want to be there. It's just, move, just restart, do everything over again. You have a new quarterback. I've questioned. I don't know about Trevor Lawrence. Every big game I see him in, and that wasn't a big game, but that had forget winning. That game pissed me off, just like the Baltimore game, because they should have covered at least minimum. You have all these just square people just betting on Arizona. They're oh, look, 7.5, and we're calling them out, and it's hey, and it still hits. I just don't like when they get rewarded, and it's you had no business. Forget losing the game, not covering. So,
and quickly, I was just going to throw this in before Brandon goes to the next game. They scored 19 points, lost 31-19. They got 7 points on that BS.
Kickoff, yeah.
Are lucky through running it back. Which if I'm the coach of the Cardinals, you got to question his decision making. Like it was another stupid 60-yard attempt.
Yeah, Matt Prater.
Matt Prater.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was Matt Prater with the big kick.
I know that he has a history and everything, but I don't know. You lose that game to Jacksonville. Let's just say you lose that game, you end up not winning the division or missing the playoffs because of a dumb play like that. I don't know. The questionable coaching decision there. But Brandon, I guess we're going.
The Jags, I think, have lost 11 straight. They're on some crazy.
After they started off 1-0 last year, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the head coach up in Arizona at all. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he proved himself at Texas Tech. I don't know why he got the job. I think it's more about
Kingsbury.
Well, that's right.
Kingsbury,
He's got a nice house, though. You ever see his house?
He got a sick house.
Beautiful house.
It looks the part. I don't think he knows what the spread is.
I saw a stat that my buddy who follows college is really dialed in, and he sent me something where it's like Cliff Kingsbury has had he's had Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield. He's had
Patty Mahomes,
and I think only once he's had an above 500 record in college and in the pros. So
yeah.
I mean, with that kind of quarterback talent, that's alarming. It's very alarming.
In the Big 12, Big 12s are scoring 60 points every game.
Right.
You can score 60 points and still lose. Right.
Yeah.
Mahomes are all these guys. Texas Tech. Yeah. It's just literally Big 12 is known for no defense. That's what it comes down to. They literally just recruit all. They just recruit all offensive player. Anyways, going on from there to the dog pound. All right, dog pound. We're going to see Matthew Nagy. Right? Matthew Nagy and the Chicago Bears go into Cleveland. Sorry, let me make sure. Go into Cleveland, of course, and lose 26-6. Listen,
Brandon, you started Justin Fields was talk about Fields. Yeah, talk about your guy Nagy.
Yeah, we'll give you all the time to rant on Nagy.
Okay. Let me get going. This
wipe the sweat
Justin Fields was 6 for 20. All right, he had 1 passing yard. First of all, one thing I don't understand and don't get is I thought when quarterbacks get sacked, then that means they take it away from the rushing yards, not the passing yards. So technically, he had 1 yard passing because, of course, all 9 sacks in the game. Myles Garrett recorded 4.5 sacks. Jadeveon Clowney got a new contract pretty much off this for having 3 sacks in this game. So just this game was really, first of all, the line protection. They had 5-man protection 3 times throughout this game. Justin Fields threw the ball 20 times. I think 5 times that Justin Fields threw the ball, they had 5-man protection. They went to 4-man protection. They were doing the but he literally this is what it comes down to. Matthew Nagy, it's either he's negligent, and Dan Orlovsky said this as well too. He's either negligent or he just doesn't get it. He just wants everyone to, I really believe this. I think he wants people to know, hey, I don't care about Justin Fields. I want everyone to realize that this is Andy's team. This is Andy's team. This is what it is. We're not going to change anything. We're not going to do anything creative. He was brought from KC to be this offensive mastermind. What has he done? Nothing. He's ruined Mitch Trubisky's career. He's probably going to ruin Justin Fields' career. This guy is absolutely garbage. Listen, I'm not even a Bears fan, but just watching what he does in Chicago, it's despicable. And it's kind of disrespectful to the game of football and to quarterbacks actually try to do good. Justin Fields is a good boy, a good guy, good kid. Literally, he goes into this team. They had 190 days to prepare for this time. 190 days to prepare for him to go into a game, run the RPO, be creative. Why is he dropping back in 4-man protection? You're playing against Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, a great secondary. It was this was legitimately the absolute worst game plan I've ever seen. You can literally play Madden and have a better game plan than that. They literally they're running a shallow cross and a corner. It happened. I swear to you guys, I'm not lying to you. It happened 7 times. The same route tree. So all I have to say is that Matthew Nagy, that was the worst play calling I've ever seen. If a guy gets sacked 9 times, you know you're doing something wrong. So all I have to say is that was absolutely the worst. Absolutely the worst game I've seen. I feel bad. They lost to a good team. Browns obviously played really well. They're a good team. They're actually a good team. But the Bears, I just think I feel so sorry for everyone in Chicago because Matthew Nagy is the worst play call. I think he was sent there to ruin that franchise. Ryan Pace is awful as well too. All right, Eagle, go ahead.
No, I'm going to jump in real quick. I don't even have anything to say. I just need a comment. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but Igor is a big fan of the popcorn meme. So I brought my popcorn for when Brandon starts talking about this guy.
Yeah, Rob, go ahead.
I brought some too.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, again, I don't know how I'm going to follow that rant for about 2-3 minutes. But here's the thing. I agree on a lot of situations. I think the main thing that I agree with is, you know what, you drafted Justin Fields 6 months ago. You knew eventually you probably were going to have to play him. He had the absolute worst game plan I've seen for a guy with Fields' talents. He I don't know what the heck the plan was. And it's a type of game, and I really don't wish ill on the kid or anything like that. That's the type of game that really ruins guys' careers early on. I hope that doesn't happen. He seems like a real good guy. It was a catastrophe out there. One passing yard, he was getting killed all over the place. He could not have had a worse debut, unless it's like Nathan Peterman throwing 6 picks. And that'll always be an all-time great for me.
Yeah.
But man, it could not have gone much worse. The offense, Allen Robinson's getting no love. Montgomery's not doing much. Man, they're in all sorts of shambles. And he should.
Mac went down.
Yeah, he should be fired by midseason, but he won't.
Should be.
I don't know if he's got our pictures of Orlando Pace or whatever is going on.
Ryan Pace, yeah.
He should. Ryan Pace, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what the situation is over there. But man, it was atrocious to watch. Atrocious.
Rob, go ahead.
I think my favorite part was you, Brandon. Basically, you're his father. You know when he's Matt all these days, and then when you get mad, it's Matthew. It's Matthew Nagy. It's not Matt Nagy. You ever played that game who would you want to interview? If I could bring anybody in the world on this pod, I would pass up everybody. So many interesting people just to bring Matt Nagy to watch you interact with him.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I like to pump my tires when I'm right, and I'm going to eat some crow. I was wrong. I thought Chicago was going to cover this game. Man, that was I was a little wrong on that. You guys called it. You said, with those DNs and basically Justin Fields in his rookie debut, it was not pretty. I kind of, when it got to 13-3, it was so bad that I don't know if you guys ever bet, and I think it was plus 7.5, and it got to 13-3. I'm like, it's over. I'm done. I didn't even bother tracking anymore. I'm like, it's just how much are they going to win by? So yeah, I was wrong.
It was painful to watch.
Painful. I didn't. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, the Chicago's offense has kind of reminded me of, Rob, what I was saying about the Jets last week. I was like, I don't know how they're going to put up points. And Cleveland's defense is pretty decent too, but Igor talked about Robinson. I feel like he's been there by himself with Montgomery for at least the last 2 years with no help whatsoever. There's been no O-line. There's really been no quarterback there, and obviously no brains at calling plays. But I said 2 weeks ago, I said, guys, when Chicago was playing Cincy, I said, if Chicago doesn't win this game against Cincy, I said, I don't know if they're going to win a game the rest of the season, minus maybe a Detroit game, because this team is that bad. Going into last week, I don't really remember who I picked. Cleveland hasn't been super impressive this year, so I wasn't really sure about the spread. But I didn't really have too much doubt that the Cleveland was going to win that game. You guys talked about Nagy. You guys nailed everything on that. I just don't know how guys that get to a certain level of professional any sport, and you're that bad at your job when this is actually supposed to be your strength. You're supposed to be an offensive mastermind. You get somewhere like you guys talked about. You've had a quarterback now for it's been 4 or 5 months since the draft at least, and it's like you bring in your assignment, or you kind of have to, I don't know what analogy to use, but you have to kind of do things differently with different people. Let's just say Igor's a teacher, so he'll teach certain kids based on certain needs compared to other people, right? And you too, Brandon. So if you have a quarterback with a totally different skill set than another one, and you're an offensive mastermind, and you hand in the same homework the next day, it's they're not dumb, you are. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah,
so that's all I say about that.
I think there's a big difference between an offensive coordinator and a head coach, and not everybody has the same skill set. Matt Nagy, I think, is a pretty good OC. I don't think he's a good head coach. I think it's kind of like Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn is a bad head coach, but he's a really good defensive coordinator. So everybody just thinks, well, you can transition from one to the other. No, sometimes it's a different skill set where there's a lot more on the plate of the head coach, and it's different. It's delegating. It's different responsibilities. So maybe he's just not a head coach.
Yeah, same with Anthony Lynn. He's a really good coordinator.
Yes.
His brain is broken when he's a head coach.
Awful.
Right?
Awful.
So,
Yeah, no, that's a
thing,
great
right?
example. Yes.
I will say that
definitely
Brandon's rant on Nagy was missing the old Eli Manning double bird. You know, the on the block after dark situation.
We'll get that another time. All right, I want to move on to actually a competent teams and a competent game in Las Vegas. I think this is the game of the week, honestly. I don't know if you guys had exactly the same way. Yeah, for us it was for sure. All right, the Raiders.
What a lucky cover. You guys are pounding your chest.
In overtime, of course. Jacoby Brissett actually, bringing them back right in regulation, playing terrible for a large part of that game, but actually coming back and getting the ball to guys like Will Fuller and of course his Mike Gesicki as well too. But are we impressed with the Las Vegas Raiders? Is this team actually for real? Igor, you look ready. Go ahead.
You know what? I gotta say that I am impressed. I mean, I thought that Miami had a chance to to win the game, and I did take them to cover. But I mean, Vegas has been impressive, man. You can't 3-0, first in the division, along with the Broncos and so forth. I mean, the Broncos haven't faced anybody. I think they're pretty much 0-9. Sorry, Rob, but that's
You're right.
3-0.
It's the truth. But you know what? They've been impressive. I mean, the defense has been good. As long as Carr can relegate the bad mistakes or anything like that. I'm not a huge fan of the running game. I don't know how Peyton Barber just ended up having a good game, but I think that might be a bit of an issue. But Edwards, they got it to Renfro. Ruggs, they have some good players on both sides of the ball. So do I think that they'll be able to keep this up? Probably not, but they look like a team that's gonna at least make the playoffs.
Oh wow!
Yeah, at least make the playoffs. Yeah, I mean 3-0. They have some really winnable games. They could probably a 10-6 team probably. I mean that might get you into 10 and I guess now maybe 11 and 11 wins, 10 11 wins. I don't know.
Joey, you seem like you disagree, so go ahead.
I don't disagree at all. You guys are preaching to the choir because I had said it from the beginning in the previous show. I was telling Rob, I said when we did the AFC West, I was talking about, I think we were all kind of unanimous in the Raiders, and Rob was kind of sleeping on them too. Not to say that I predicted them to be 3-0, but going into last week, I know we posted a lot of clips on this one because it was a game we were looking forward to, right? Tua was out. Brissett came in. We want to see what that offense was like. A team that was 0-2 fighting for their first win. And the Raiders 2-0 trying to figure out if they're real. And like I talked about, these are games where, if you can kind of figure them out, granted, Brissett came on strong late at the end. But like with Crosby and then is it Nassib or Nassib, whatever his name is on the other end?
Carl Nassib, yeah.
They're pretty stout, at least D-line, right? And like I said last show, if you have a really good front seven, you can get pressure on the quarterback. Your secondary doesn't matter as much. Their secondary has been fine enough. They gave up 28, but their offense, we talked about Derek Carr as well. I've been a believer. I think that if he can stay healthy, Waller they kind of had in check, but they had some other guys step up, Ruggs, and like you said, Edwards, and then Igor was bringing up Renfro. Like, they have enough guys to score points. Their offense is not the issue. It's just really, can they keep other teams out of the end zone? If they can do that, I think Igor, I don't know. Like, I know they started out 3-0, and the chance of them making the playoffs statistically are probably pretty good. We got the Chiefs and the Chargers, man. Like, that's going to go down to the wire.
Hey, they're at the top of the leaderboard.
They played the Chiefs pretty tough last year, though. I think they beat them once.
Well, they always do. They're a gritty team, right? Like Rob says, they're a raw squad.
Yeah, Rob, go ahead.
I really like Hunter Renfro. I gotta say that. I watched most of that game because I basically staked my gambling reputation on that game, and I didn't even realize that I didn't realize that Joe needed that for cash. I would have kind of rooted against Miami, but I loved Miami on the cover. It was a bit of a greasy cover in terms of pick six, but Oakland's got some good pieces. I just don't trust John Gruden. I don't trust Mike Mayock. Their D-line looks really good. They also have a safety. I don't know what his name is, from Mississippi State. He's really hard. They drafted him a couple years ago.
Jonathan Abrams.
I love that guy, man. He's really very he's really scary. They've got some good pieces, but I did my NFL power rankings. They're still not in the top 10 for me. I think it's going to take.
We got to make you a believer. I know they're in the division, but we got to make you a believer.
It's just, I've seen this before, and I've seen Derek Carr be good before, and then I'm going to see Derek Carr be bad for quite a few games. So I'm just not jumping ahead. I'm not putting Denver anywhere near there, Oakland nowhere near there. I'm not gonna overreact to these first 3 weeks, because that's the biggest mistake people make, is overreactions.
Absolutely. We go right on. Hopefully in a few weeks you get that going. Sorry, Joey, go ahead.
I'll say, Rob, quick question. How do you see the Raiders finishing their season, like a record?
I don't, you know what? I'm really bad at this. I haven't gone ahead to look at their schedule outside of the next 3.
Which is ballpark. You know the division, right? So, like, you think they're going to be 500?
Like I said, I think they are a 500 team. I think I said they're an 8-9 team, maybe a 7-10. It looks like they're going to win a few more. Like last year, I would have had the Steelers at like 8-8, and they get off to 11-0 start, and it's like, you're wrong, but they're still not that good of a team. So, Oakland, I don't care about their record. I'm not going to overreact. I still think they're just, they have good pieces. Waller's amazing, but it's just, it's Oakland. I'm not gonna.
So just the record wise, you're looking at, they're gonna play everybody in the NFC East. They still have that to go. So that's probably, you would say, at least maybe 2 or 3 more wins. You know, games, and then again they got, you know, Indianapolis. They still got to face the Chargers, and Chicago that they're gonna have in a couple weeks. So yeah, I mean, you know, looking at the situation, if the NFC East doesn't improve too much, that, you know, they might be able to pull even 3 wins off of there. So
okay. Question for you guys. I'll go across the board. Is Oakland in your power rankings of top 10? Because they're not.
Absolutely. I would say that.
Where do you got them? Where do you have them?
I'm going to say 7 right now.
Oh, write that down. Write that down. And we're going to revisit this. We revisit this.
Hey, they proved it. They beat the Steelers, all right? They beat a pretty good Baltimore team with a great defense. All right, this Miami game, I thought they should have. This is their worst game, in my opinion, altogether. But you know, Carr did get that. You know, did get it going through the air to Bryan Edwards, and you know, of course, Ruggs and so on. And Hunter Renfrow, I love Hunter Renfrow, great route runner, great guy, great receiver altogether. So they have pieces. It's just, can the defense put it together? Can the defense get crucial stops, which they showed they could not? So I think I have them early. They're not going to be there by the end of the year, but they're still part of my top 10 right now.
Okay, Igor, Joe.
Well, so I'm looking at it in the sense, and again, I go usually by AFC, NFC sort of situations. I mean, in the AFC, the only teams that I would really have them, you know, lower than probably Buffalo, Cleveland. I think that at the end of the day, I think, you know, Kansas City will bounce back. So, I mean, that would be 4, and then, yeah, I probably have them around. Probably around the 10 range, so maybe 10, 11. I know there's a lot of teams in the NFC that are probably better than they are. But, again, they only have to get through the AFC teams, right? So they'll definitely be, I think, a playoff team in the AFC for sure.
Okay, so it's tough because I'm just looking at the NFC now, and teams that are better, like obviously the Bucks are.
Yeah.
The Packers, I guess we assume they're back after 2 wins.
Yeah.
You could argue everybody in the NFC West is better, depending on how you're kind of looking at things. And then I don't know. I wouldn't put them really ahead of the Cowboys, although they've done whatever. And the AFC really is, for me, it's just the Bills. See, the Chiefs, obviously the Chiefs are better than they are. Now, the Chargers, to be honest, I'm highest on them than any other team in that division. And then other than that, AFC North doesn't scare me. I don't think any of those teams are going to do too much. Like, if I had to bet money that no team would win the Super Bowl of that division, or maybe even make it there, I'd do that. And even the Titans, the Titans, to me, are a better team, but not by much. So I'd probably have them around maybe like 9 or 10 in the power rankings.
I said 7. That's a reach. I'm gonna say 9 or 10. We're around 8. That was a reach. I think that was.
We got the clip. Don't worry, it's saved now.
Yeah,
totally
7. 7. I have like Tampa, the Rams, KC, Green Bay, Buffalo, Cleveland, Arizona, San Fran, Carolina, Baltimore, all in them right off the top. And that doesn't include. I'll still take Carolina over them. I think Carolina's the sneaky team of the year.
McCaffrey's out again, man. McCaffrey can't stay.
Yeah, that hurt. Yeah, that hurts for sure. Anyway, right, too much Raider talk.
Yeah, too much Raiders. And go on to Rob's team, the Broncos. I didn't really want to talk about this. 26-0, right? Von Miller I believe he got 5 sacks, or a defense sacked him 5 times. So Zach Wilson obviously they're going to go 0-17. Okay, they're going to. Can everyone say right now that the Jets are going to go 0-17? Just let me know.
I'm looking at their schedule, but I think it's pretty safe to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I'm just trying to look at the schedule here. They got
the Titans.
They have Atlanta. I mean, that could be something there. They got Houston. So they got a couple teams, you know, Jacksonville as well. So they play some bad teams. You'd have to think they'd win one of those games. Like,
okay,
they got home games they have a home game against Jacksonville. They got to go to Houston, and they got to go to Atlanta. All the other ones, you know, they're probably going to be losses, so they probably have to win one of those games. But looking at how they played, I give full credit to Rob's Broncos though. The defense really. We were talking about the whole BYU situation and Wilson might come to play. Didn't happen at all. And yeah, he's I think out of all of them, he's probably looked the worst out of the rookies. I mean, besides Justin Fields, who's only got a cup of tea, really. He continued. And Joey was bang on. Like, he was like, well, they might not score any points, and that's exactly what happened. I wish I had taken him in Survivor, I'll tell you that.
Igor, quick thought for you. That reminded me when you brought up Rob's rah-rah and I remember Kyle Lowry ready to rumble. What happened, baby?
What happened there? I don't. Rob, we're gonna go.
Igor, tell me the story really quick.
The Kyle Lowry situation.
Kyle Lowry,
Yeah. So I think I've gotten a lot of hate through other individuals that are on the Block podcast at times, because of the Kyle Lowry situation and other things. But for me, again, when I think it was a 3-0 game, the Raptors were down to Cleveland and LeBron, and then I'm watching Lowry's presser, and he's like, you know what, we got to go in game 4, and we got to rumble. And then he puts up 5 points. I got off the Kyle Lowry train right there, to be honest. That was it. I'm like, what? You got to rumble, and you give me 5 points? That is literally, I think that's the day that my fandom for Kyle absolutely went down the drain. I never recovered from that. And, I wish him well in Miami, but I think I never recovered from that situation. And it's a sad state of affairs, really, but it was rough. It was rough.
You gotta give him his flowers. Anyways, Rob, I want to wait for your take or your assessment of the Broncos.
I'll tidy this up. Another one of those where Bobby was very wrong. Geez, man, I had the Jets covering. I thought this was a real letdown spot here, but yeah, Joe, you were right. I mean, they didn't score. They couldn't score. The Denver defense. The Jets game kind of reminded me of the Rams Tampa, where
we'll get right to that.
I think we see that where you land really matters. Like, Matt Stafford goes to Detroit, can't win a thing. Now he's in LA. He's 3-0. He's winning big games. Zach Wilson is not gonna survive there. It's not gonna work. They should have kept Sam Darnold. They should have tried to add some assets. And in terms of Denver, I'm not putting them in the top 10. They haven't beaten anybody. But in terms of roster, I could make the argument that outside of Tampa, and they might even be close, this might be the next best roster that just doesn't have a quarterback. Like Teddy Bridgewater, who is decent, is going to have success there. But this roster is top to bottom really, really good. I mean, good defensive backs, good D-line, good O-line, good receivers, good tight ends. Hell, maybe even 2 good tight ends. It is a very, very deep team that just – doesn't really have a quarterback. I mean, if you were to put like Derek Carr on the Broncos, this is a 12-win team, I think, 13-win team. They're very good. It's just we just don't have the quarterback, I don't think, to really bring that like thunder of like a real legitimate threat to.
Can't rumble. You can't rumble with Teddy.
Can't rumble. Yeah, no. Teddy's good. He's gonna manage, but it's just I don't think. Yeah.
32 gloves. I think he's good. I think he's serviceable. But yeah, when it comes to like win those big games, I don't know if he's gonna have it altogether. Joe, you want to go into this?
No, I was just gonna say I think Teddy's fine. Like I think that there's a lot worse quarterbacks that you could have on your team. I think who's their backup actually is the guy that they drafted just a few years ago in the second round.
Drew Lock.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest Drew Lock fan. Like to me, they're pretty interchangeable. I'd rather have Teddy. I've been a fan of his. His knee was, dismantled. So the fact that he's come back and he's able to still do what he's doing, to me, it's fine. Like I said, there's much worse quarterbacks you could have. You could have Zach Wilson. Things could be much worse.
I totally agree. Teddy Bridgewater is fine.
Even
but
Ryan Tannehill, man, like, I'm not the biggest Tannehill guy. Like, you swap quarterbacks, Teddy and Tannehill right now. I don't know if Tennessee loses that much.
Really?
I gotta be honest with you. That's great. The only problem is, when was the last time you watched Super Bowl and you're like, wow, that quarterback is really fine. Like it was like,
Rex Grossman. No, I'm kidding.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah,
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Like he was fine. Yeah. All right.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're moving on. We want to wrap up really soon, but I'm going to go to 2 key games of the week. We're going to start off the Rams against Tampa Bay, and as you alluded to, Rob, Stafford actually in big games. Him and Cooper Kupp, ridiculous together, right? That defense is just firing all cylinders. They're making plays and whatnot, and of course, Brady is going to just take everything out on noon the next week. But about this game ended up 34-24 in LA in the Coliseum. Igor, what do you feel about this game?
Well, I mean, I think it pretty much played out like I thought in specific elements. I thought, the Tampa Bay defense's worst element is the secondary. I think they got injuries. They're talking about maybe bringing in Richard Sherman for a tryout and things like that. And that's basically, the Rams wide receivers and Tyler Higbee as well. They really took advantage. I wasn't thinking that Deshaun Jackson was going to go off the way that he did, but it made sense. Like the secondaries always had that MO where if you're a speed guy, like we saw Tyreek Hill in the regular season at least do the same kind of deal, it really does sting them a lot. So that's really their Achilles heel. And then, the Rams defense is pretty solid. Didn't give Brady a ton. Brady still had a decent game, as did the offense, but they just couldn't keep up with the scoring. But again, it was a statement game in LA. I think Tampa's not going to like some of the hijinks from Sean McVay running into the stuff. I think they're going to remember that when they get him again, which I think they will meet again.
What's the hijinks? Sorry, I missed that.
What was that?
What was the hijinks?
When he ran into
when he was running into the
bush league. Little bush league.
There's a little bush league. Him running into the I guess by the curtains with Jackson and stuff like that. It was like watching Jose Mourinho as an NFL coach and stuff like that. You'll never see like Belichick do anything like that. Again, I think the Bucs will learn from that experience. I don't think they were going to go 16-0 or anything like that, or 17-0. So yeah, they'll learn from that experience. They got to get some healthy guys in the back end. But it was a great game. It was probably the game of the week in that sense. Besides, I guess the nail biter between Vegas and Miami. It was a great game, and hopefully we get to see that once again, maybe in the playoffs.
Yeah, I thought that was McVay's Super Bowl, right? Anytime he can beat Tom Brady, he's gonna celebrate his ass off because once again he took that Super Bowl away from him. That's the reason why. He's always gonna have that in his mind. So Sean McVay's gonna be showboat and whatnot, but they're gonna come back to him. They're gonna remember that and see what happens there. Rob, go ahead.
I would say Bill Belichick stole the Super Bowl, and Sean McVay's poor preparation for that Super Bowl might have lost it more than anything. I hated watching that game for a couple reasons. I took Tampa, and it just seemed like they were chasing the whole time. It just seemed like a game where it was just like they just chased the game. And Tampa's been known to lose these games in the regular season. I mean, I know they haven't lost a lot over the last – I think that was their first loss in like 9 or 10 games. But they lost to New Orleans twice last year. They lost some big games in the regular season. The other thing that kind of pissed me off was that I really wanted Cooper Kupp in fantasy. And over like a few bucks, I said no. And I hate myself now because he is basically –
It's okay. He's like the number one guy.
Yeah,
number one guy.
Yeah, like over quarterbacks and running backs, and he is outrageous. So I really just I hate being so cheap and not going a few more bucks on him. So it's hard to watch these games.
Joey, go ahead.
We talked about a lot of this stuff. First of all, I think this is an NFC Championship game right here. But I looked at this game, and I was talking with you guys earlier or Igor brought this up. Oh, sorry. And Brandon, you did too. Like, if the Bucs can't get any kind of running game going, it's not going to work out. And I don't care who your wideouts are. I don't care who your quarterback is. Their leading rusher was Tom Brady with 14 yards. I just had to pull that up right now. Like that's embarrassing. Brady threw the ball 55 times, 432, 1 touchdown, no picks. I know the first show we did, I was, picking up Stafford, and I don't know. Did you guys expect this much immediate success there?
I kind of did.
Yeah,
I did.
Everybody
I
is?
did. Yeah, I did.
Okay. Because I was watching the game with my dad, and even my dad, we've gone to a few Detroit games over the years. Obviously, Stafford's there. He knows him, and he follows football vaguely. And he's like, wow, he goes, look, Stafford finally got a team. And I was like, that's what I've been saying forever, right? I just wanted him to get out of there. And I always, whether it be hockey or any sport, basketball, you see a lot of guys on bad teams, and they never really get their due or their shine. And I'm really happy, like I keep saying about Stafford, because 4 touchdowns, no picks. He has an O-line. He has weapons. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. Like Rob said, like Kupp might be the best receiver in the league just at the moment. He's unsolvable even after the catch. He looks incredible.
Yeah, he is.
Right? Like he is.
Yeah.
And then Sony Michel hasn't been incredible, but at least he's giving 20 rushing yards. You're balancing it out. They're not just prepping for the pass every time. The Rams are my Super Bowl pick, and I'm feeling a lot more confident now than I was going into it.
Yeah, I had to play Kupp and Stafford in fantasy. Did not go well. So
that
that was definitely but they're definitely
The one thing about Stafford that I have from watching a couple of the Rams games though is he does tend to risk some injuries on a couple times on his hand I saw in the last few games. So he's got to stay healthy. That's for sure. I think that's also been a little bit of his MO. And that again, you can tell that he's hitting. He has this thing where he tends to hit his hand on a lot of linemen's helmets and stuff like that. And get jammed. Yeah. It's a very weird thing, but he's got to stay healthy, or else they'd be in trouble, obviously.
I think that was happening because in Detroit, they never had a line. So he's always being rushed. He actually has – I don't think I've ever seen Matt Stafford have more than 2 seconds in the pocket. Now I'm watching him, like, I've never seen him with this much time in the pocket throwing the ball. So like, it's a luxury he's working in right now. And it's weird because I watch a lot of Detroit games as well too, Joy. And I never saw him with time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
You watch a lot of Detroit games. You guys are like love the punishment.
We watch Rodgers, Igor. Come on, we're not Rodgers.
Yeah, we're there for Rodgers. Speaking of Rodgers, going right on to, of course, Levi Stadium, where the San Francisco 49ers thought they were going to win, but no, gave too much time to Aaron Rodgers in the clutch in that game. All right, losing 30-28 to the Green Bay Packers. This game was incredible. I thought this was a great Sunday night game. Devontae Adams probably being concussed, still going out there and putting on a show. I love the 2-minute drill of him coming around on like a deep in. Like it was unstoppable, like literally unstoppable. And probably the best throw I've seen Rodgers. I've seen a lot of great throws from Rodgers, but that touchdown pass to Marquez Valdes-Scantling right in the end zone, right in the corner, excellent, right? So once again, with this game, you see that the San Francisco 49ers have actually Kyle Shanahan's put a game plan together for Trey Lance, whereas Matt Nagy has not ever for his quarterback, right? So he has a plan for Trey Lance. Matt Nagy does not, so I have to bring a Matt Nagy into this because he's awful. But this game altogether, guys, how do you feel about it? What was your takeaway from it? Did we see these teams end up in the NFC Championship game? Start with you, Joy.
I regret to say I didn't watch too much. I saw the first and I saw the fourth. So I most of the fourth anyways. But I was going to say, like, Garoppolo, we've talked about his, shortcomings. He had a decent game, numbers and just throwing the ball wise. The running backs, obviously, we talked about, are decimated. Going back to Green Bay, like, I was just saying Cooper Kupp, like, Devontae Adams has to be the best route runner in the league and probably maybe the most unstoppable force. Like, you could do whatever you want with him. He's going to find a way to get open, and Rodgers loves him, so he's going to throw him the most perfect ball to get. So even just those two there, and obviously Jones has been incredible. Igor, that under didn't hit, but it was close. I played a prop stick. He was at like 56. He had a big game last week, and this week too, right? Another touchdown, 82 yards. They finally have a running back that they haven't had in a long time. And we were questioning the Packers, after week one, obviously, and then they escaped with a win against the Lions. But this was a big test, and they passed. And San Fran, made the mistake of giving Rodgers the ball. As we see with great quarterbacks, these fourth quarter comebacks with the 2-minute drill or 1-minute drill, whatever happens to be, they're either getting the touchdown, they're putting the kicker in a position to win, and they're nailing it. So both these teams, like I said, they're probably going to be the top four with LA and the Bucks, which we talked about. But all the primetime games for the most part, other than the Monday night game, which we might get to, have been really good so far.
Absolutely. Rob, go ahead.
So Kyle Shanahan is a really good coach. He's a little bit better than Matt Nagy. Just wanted to throw that out there.
A little bit.
Yeah. Green Bay. I remember 2 or 3 years ago when they played San Fran twice. When San Fran went to the Super Bowl, they played them in the regular season, and San Fran rolled them, and then they played them in the playoffs and rolled them again. And you could just see that Green Bay was not physical. Like, they just got beat up in the trenches, and they've done a really good job of changing that. I mean, good on Green Bay. It's a small market. They don't really sign a lot of free agents, but they're really good at developing and drafting. And like, to see them win in the trenches, like they had a good lead. Garoppolo was okay. I didn't see very much out of them. If I had to bring up, any quarterback, everybody thinking that Trey Lance is going to be like a great quarterback. I know they had a good game plan of like they brought him in for select plays, and I understand. Mm-hmm. I've seen him throw the ball like 3 times, and I don't think once it's even come close to the receivers. Everybody I listen to, like, radio guys that are pushing for Trey Lance. I think we have to realize that quarterback is the one position where we really don't know. It's really hard to just be like, yeah, he's going to be great. It's the one position that you almost don't know. So I don't think Trey Lance is that good. And they're going to have to rock with Jimmy Garoppolo this whole year if San Fran wants to make it to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. They got to do something. They don't trade him away just yet. Igor,
no.
Well, I mean, the biggest takeaway and I'll give him credit, was definitely that drive with 36 seconds left. I mean, I think it was pretty poor coverage by the 49ers corners. If you want to cover a guy, you probably want to cover Adams in the last couple plays of the game. But I give they give them credit. They've bounced back from a really bad first loss. I thought, looking at the situation in the first half, porn star Jimmy definitely struggled at times.
Every time.
Joey's just shaking his head at the nickname. That's going to be the nickname going forward. It's a classic nickname. And I agree with Rob that the Trey Lance situation is definitely a work in progress. I don't, every time I've seen him, he's running the QB draw situation in short yardage and so forth. So you don't really know what he has over there. He does look mobile. He looks like he has some potential, but again, his time will come. Again, it's a tough loss for the 49ers because you would assume, with 36 seconds left and no timeouts, that they'd have pretty much have it in the bag. But credit to Rodgers and onto the next game. But it was definitely a solid W for the Packers, and a much better effort overall in general over the week one where they got blown up by the Saints. So definitely improvements all over the place for sure.
Definitely. I think that was the game of the week, right? There were so many games of the week that's been great thus far with all these games. I just want to pretty much say that Aaron Rodgers is the best thrower of the football to ever grace this earth. That's all I have to say. That's just my opinion. The best thrower of the football.
Igor's not going to be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to sleep.
Like that.
And
I'll give him. You know what? He won me some money. I'm not going to even say anything about Rodgers. Like I said, we can have that debate all we want. We saw what happened in the championship game last year. So I think that one kind of put that to bed as well. So, it is what it is. I'll give Rodgers credit. He looked disheveled in week one. He looked like he didn't want to be there. And he's gone two straight wins, and he's back on course. So good on him. That's all I'll say about Aaron Rodgers.
That's all I'll say.
One day I want to jump in on this Aaron Rodgers stuff. I need to join in and express my feelings. One day I'm going to jump in between you two here.
Why one day, Rob? Jump in whenever you want, man.
Not today. I don't got the gas for it.
Yeah, me neither. I think we all are all the gas right now. I don't really want to go through the Dallas and Philadelphia game. Do you guys want to go through it at all? Like, was it something that you really – it was a good game. Or a good game, yeah. 41-21. Dak played well.
Dallas looks good, man. Like I debated putting them in my top 10 power rankings. I hate to say it. Dallas might be good.
I think Philly was a bit of a smoke screen in week one, and they didn't come back down to earth. We thought they are who we thought they were, and I thought that Dallas would really pound them. They're back with a home opener, back with fans and so forth at full capacity. Dak coming back for his first home game. It just to set the stage, and they really dismantled them throughout. Running game was solid. Philly couldn't stop anybody without Graham. So yeah, it was a rough game for Philly all around.
Yeah, Brandon Graham, guys, a great player, great name as well too. Joey, you have anything to say?
Just quickly, we didn't have any questions about their offense. They put up 41. Really, it's just their defense, right? And Philly's offense is pretty bad. It's one of the worst ones. I'm kind of bullish on Hurts. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. But, yeah, I guess like you said, like they won week one, but they beat the Falcons. And now we're seeing really who the Falcons are. So now we can kind of gauge teams a little bit better, right? We weren't too sure about Philly. We thought they might be a 500 team. It's going to be tough. Dallas, Dak was perfect. 3 touchdowns, no picks. They got Pollard and Zeke there. Igor, as you know, I have Zeke. I was kind of happy that he came to life last game. And then even their wideouts and their tight ends, right? Like C.D. Cooper and then Schultz is a pretty solid tight end. Like they have weapons. We talked about at the beginning of the year. They were going to win the division as long as, Zeke and Dak stayed healthy. And more importantly, now we're seeing we just need Dak because Pollard's there as well. If those guys can stay healthy, to me, it's their division to take because the rest of the division is either Washington's average or the other 2 teams are trash.
I totally agree. I think that wraps it up, guys. That wraps it up. We went over all the key matchups of the week 3. Now we go on to week 4, and we're putting more picks and hopefully more excitement, more disappointments as it's going to happen. But that's the show. It's the On the Block NFL recap. We'll be back soon. Keep following.